My name is Don Welford. I'm a retired men's soccer coach here at NHTI. I coached here for almost 9 years in 2 different stints. I coached for 3 or 4 years, took some time away, and then returned back. So we'd like to share a little bit of time with you today about some of the great things that happen along here in soccer. And I was also very proud to be elected into the NHTI Athletic Hall of Fame. So with that, greatest assistant coach around, Sean Fischer.
Hi, I'm Sean Fischer. I was a soccer coach here for 9 years, 5 years as an assistant, 1 year with Derek Johnson, and 4 with Coach Welford here. And then I went on to be the head coach for 4 years with my assistant, Ray Juneau. I'm a phys ed and health teacher in Allenstown, New Hampshire. And, I coach that co-ed soccer team now at our middle school, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. All right, Coach, I got one for you. What was your favorite team you coached here at NHTI, you think?
The typical coach's answer is they're all your favorite team. And so I could say that, but I think that what I would say is that my very first year of coaching was probably my first year. I had coached for 20 years at Reading High School in Reading, Massachusetts. And so my first year of coaching a college team was very unique in the perspective of everything that I coached. And those players, small number, we only had 14 players, but those players made it so easy for me to learn how to coach at the college level. And so for that team, that rates as my favorite all-time team because they helped me to stay in the ranks of the college coach. We weren't very good that year. We were only 500, but it was still very, very good. And so for you, same question.
Yeah, same question.
You were not with me.
Yeah.
By yourself.
Yeah.
You were the head coach.
Yeah, after you retired and moved on, I had my first year as coach, and I brought in Ray Juneau as assistant coach. Ray was someone that is very, very good soccer knowledge, great soccer practices, really taught me a lot. I also learned a lot from Coach Welford, in the 4 years I was with him, learned some stuff from Derek Johnson. And and also my friend Kevin Walsh when I used to coach at Pembroke Academy with him. I just kind of took everything together. We had this team that we had 35 kids at tryouts. We had to make some cuts and get down to like 28 kids. Coach Hogan let us keep that many kids, and it was great. We had a travel roster, and we were really competitive. We were ranked, in the top 10 most of the year. We ended up winning the Yankee Conference on penalty kicks. We had some really, really good players that, to this day, Samir Sanzik, who played with us, Kyle Haas, Brendan Pettigrew, Parker Heath, Austin Starwell, Chris, I can't catch him. Those guys, are all guys that I still talk to, and it's nice to still have that connection with players. You see them out at a restaurant, or you see them, in town at the grocery store, and it's always, hey coach, and that team was probably, we were one of the best, our best records, our highest ranked. I mean, we went down to nationals, and we get, as coach will tell you, when you go down to nationals, now it's Division I, Division II, but when we went, when I was coaching and coach was coaching, it was Division I. You were playing Division I, and you were playing scholarship schools, and those kids held their own. I mean, we didn't win down there, but we held our own, and we had some really, really good teams. And, just the connections with that team that I still have. Kids still text me Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, and it's kind of nice to have that. That's kind of what NHTI is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, and it's probably most of the reason why we coach.
Yep.
The players that we get, the students that come here to NHTI, they're all unique students in their own way, but as athletes, they're as good as many. They're as good as many. And one of the things that you and I have both stressed as coaches is it's important for us to do well both regionally and nationally because it does in fact help NHTI as a whole to bring in students. It's publicity that you can't pay for. But the long-lasting relationships, because so many of the kids live in New Hampshire and they become your neighbors of sorts. And like Sean says, we see players all the time, you know, and with social media today, it's so easy to maintain those relationships. We've gone to weddings, we've gone to graduations, I've gone to christenings, and so that's what makes NHTI really, really special, both athletically and academically as well.
Quick story about that. I'm playing golf Saturday, and all of a sudden I hear, "Coach!" And I turn around, and it's one of our former players, Ryan Nitz. And it's, you know, someone I haven't seen in a while, and you know, it was nice to kind of talk to him. We talked some old stories about you know, playing and the playing days and stuff. He played for us.
And you know, too, many of the not many, but some of the players that you and I have coached have gone on to be coaches. We have former players that are now coaches at the high school level, and I've seen a couple of former players that coach in the youth sports. I have 4 grandchildren, 2 of which play soccer here in New Hampshire. And I've met my former players on the sidelines of the opposite team because they're coaching their kids. And so you'd like to think that the love of soccer that we preach has carried over into them as parents. Mm-hmm. And now they're working with their own kids doing that, you know. And I think too, we like to win. There's no question about it. And NHTI has a great national reputation for quality soccer. And you know, the teams that I coached, we went to the Nationals 5 times. We won half a dozen championships. Sean's teams also have gone to Nationals and won championships. And but you're still trying to make that one player a special player, both as a person and as a player. And so I think we've had good success with that. So how about when we were down in New York?
Yeah, that was a great time.
Yeah. Paul Hogan always told us that traveling with your team should be more than just going to a hotel and playing a game and coming back. And so during 9/11, which was a time when I owned a business at the time, and that was a very dreadful day for the whole country, myself included, and I really wanted to make sure that lived on. So I saved all the newspapers from 9/11 that I could find. And then each year with all the teams I coached on 9/11, I would bring those newspapers to practice and ask them to read about that so that they understood the significance of what happened during that time. Well, then it happened that we were down in New York for 3 days, and the 9/11 memorial had just opened up. What was it, a week or so? That week. And I said, you know, we should take the players to that. And so we called my wife, and there was a whole process of trying to get tickets, but we managed to get tickets. And that to me was what NHTI and athletics is all about. With Sean's help, we took those kids into the 9/11 memorial, and we were able to spend a couple of hours with our players talking about it, letting them feel what had happened. And I had already shown them the newspapers, and they had learned a bit about it. And so that's the kind of experience that NHTI athletics provides. And it's what coaches here at NHTI do. We're not just coaches of a sport, we're coaches of people. And so we're trying to get some realities for them. And to this day, we still have players that talk about going to see that 9/11 memorial, and I know that your trips were the same too.
Yeah. I mean, I would take kids. We'd go to New York and play Paul Smith up by Lake Classic, and we would stop at Ben and Jerry's. And I can remember taking a few of my players. We went recruiting, and you know, they came to campus and we were doing some summer stuff. And the kids were, "Can't wait till we go to Ben and Jerry's." We'd always take the kids to Ben and Jerry's when we went on that Paul Smith trip. Yeah. And these kids would go in and go to see the tour of the factory or video. And then they give you ice cream. And then these kids would just sit there and eat ice cream. And it was like they loved like every minute of it. And just to see them talk about it later on, and even now, you talk to kids, "Coach, remember going to Ben and Jerry's?" You know, it's just things like that. It's just, you know, there's soccer and there's playing, and then there's that family after. And those are, you know, now that I'm done coaching here, those are some things that I miss. It's those road trips. And it might not necessarily be the van rides or the bus rides, but the time in the hotel before the game. For me, when we were on the bus going to our national championship, the tournament, riding there, just the feeling of the bus with the kids so excited to play these games. And that stuff as a coach that I remember, and that probably it's most thing that I miss about here is just the things that happen, not on the field, because those things are great, but off the field too as well.
Yeah. And my second year of coaching here at NHTI, we qualified for the Nationals for the first time in a while. And so we were playing at the University of Texas, their Tyler campus. And so we had to fly into Dallas. And I can remember to this day, there were 6 kids that got on that airplane that had never been on an airplane before. And to me, that was so significant about what college athletics is. It's providing an opportunity for a player to go and do something that they've never done before. And so we had 6 players that had never been on, and I hassled them pretty good. They kept asking me what it was going to be like. They kept asking me what it's going to be like when this plane takes off, and I told them, I said, well, in front of you there's a white bag in the back of a chair. And I said, that's a bath bag, and this plane is going to push you so far back into the seat that your stomach is going to want to come right out into that bag. So you better have that bag ready. And so we took off. Of course, no one threw up, but those are the experiences that college athletics here at NHTI provide, which are great. So, but now, if you had to pick a couple of players, and I know how difficult this is, but memorable players, whether it be when you were with me or your own teams, what do you think?
I personally, there's a couple that stick out, but Romero was probably this player
Romero Osorio. Yeah,
he was deadliest left foot I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
He could any free kick, 18 yards out, 20 yards out, 25 yards. It was got a pretty good shot going in the net. He was definitely.
But we had to wake him up and get him to class every day and drive him around. He almost missed a bus when we went to West Virginia.
For national.
But that's okay. But he was a great one too. And I think for me, there are multiples for me, but I think Chris Barker was probably one of the best 2-sport athletes here at NHTI, both as a soccer player as well as a basketball player. And he just got into the Hall of Fame as well. And I think if I look at the field from a goalkeeper point of view, aside from Jason Atten, who was like the mayor of NHTI, all 6 foot 7 feet of him, but probably Christian Barrios was probably one of the best goalkeepers to come out. He was an All-American in a time when there were also 2 other All-Americans in the country, and he was one of the best for a kid his size. What about midfielders though?
Midfielders, probably Samir Sanzik. He was I think 2nd-team All-American. He led the country at one time in assists. USCA, he let him assist. Some other ones, Kyle Haas was a good one here, really strong midfield play. Brendan Pettigrew that played for me was really good.
I love Jonathan Carlisle. Jonathan Carlisle was a player that was probably as tough as any player in the world, and he played an outside mid, and he just would go and go and go. He swore like a trooper, but that was okay. We controlled it so that he didn't get any cards. But there's been so many great players. And the other part that you and I always forget to talk about, which we should, the managers, the medical staff, the support we get from Coach Hogan and everything. The trainers and everybody that we have, we constantly were demanding of more every single time we played. The maintenance crews. I used to argue with them that the grass should only be an inch and a quarter tall. And
I don't think Coach Hogan ever heard that. I don't think he ever heard you say that about the grass.
But finally, we got them to understand that it was a home field, and we needed the advantage of shorter grass. And if we were a fast team, we needed a wider field and a longer field. And so those parts of the athletic experience here all worked for us, especially to our advantage. And if we were playing a team that was faster than us, we'd tell them, don't cut the grass. Let it stay tall so we could keep up with them.
I agree. And that's, I learned that from you. And I kept that tradition going. Coach, you got to cut the grass a little shorter. My kids are fast. We got a tough team coming in. And that's how I recruited it here. I tried to get fast fast outside players and tough kids in defense in the middle. And,
Yeah.
but I mean, you had to use the width of that field. I mean, the facilities here is amazing. I mean,
Right.
everybody that comes here says we have some of the nicest facilities, around. And they're amazing. The fields are great. They do a great job. Kevin Smith and Paul do a great job, and
Yeah.
Bacon's crew, and the trainers that we've had have been a great thing. The weight room,
Yeah.
I mean, upstairs, basketball courts, all those kinds of things.
But then we get to the academic portion of it, and we're coaches of a sport, but we're teachers of academics, and so I think something really important, and coaches will always tell you that the academics are this, that, and the other, but I think here, because NHTI is a small school, even though it's large in numbers, it's a small school. There's great tutorial programs for our players. There's all kinds of academic help for the players, not just the players, but for everybody. There's great academic help for them. We always were relying on other people to help our players academically, and it was so gratifying to know that those services, which in most cases were free, all those tutorial services were free, to help these players, so that when they do leave us either through a transfer or a graduation, that they are prepared academically, because that's really why they're here. Yeah, they're here to play soccer, but
How many times did we take kids down to the learning center? I mean,
Yeah.
kids, didn't know, but physically took them down there and said, "Hey, look at what is offered here for free for you."
yeah.
And it helped a lot of kids that play for me and for you. I know that.
Yeah,
So I think
and
that's
plus, summer school, we had players that needed extra credits so that they could transfer, and so we'd put them into summer school classes so that they could do that. So I guess the whole trick of at least soccer at NHTI, and I guess all the sports, is it's a blend of academics, athletics, and it really is, we use the word all the time, but like Sean says, it's family. I mean, we view these kids somewhat like their own, and we've been able to establish that as one of the hallmarks of the program, which continues. Sean's not coaching anymore, I'm not, but the athletic prowess of the program has continued, and it's both excellence on the field and it's good academic excellence as well, so that they can go on and do whatever else they have to do.
I think it's just like a big family, I mean,
Yeah.
when I first started coaching with you, when you and I, Don's a really good friend to me, if I, questions about either soccer or life or anything, I can contact him, just like Coach Hogan, I have that connection now.
Yeah.
And it's because of this, like someone like Chuck Lloyd, and
Yeah.
Dr. Lloyd at went on community college. I just become good friends just from here. Tom Warner, the former baseball coach here.
Yeah.
I coached with him 1 year as an assistant. Just the relationships that were built from coaching here at NHTI.
Yeah.
It's really a family atmosphere, and it's
Yeah.
nice. Players, coaches,
Yeah.
faculty, staff. You get to know a lot of people.
So every family though has its funny stories, and, so go ahead. What was the funniest thing that happened to you and your team? One of your teams, not our teams. One of your teams.
Funny things, huh? That's a good
Yeah.
question. Well, this is a funny one. When we went to Paul Smith, you'd have to take the ferry over,
Yeah.
and you'd have to pay for a certain amount of kids, and we paid for the kids. But some of the kids played a joke on this kid Brendan Pettigrew, and said, "Brendan, he was a smaller kid. You need to hide underneath the seat, so we don't get charged for it. We paid for him, but so we get on the ship to go across the ferry to get across, and he's, Coach, can I come out?" And I'm like, "No, you gotta stay under." The kid's like, "You're a stowaway," like all this stuff, and he stayed under that thing for what is it, maybe 10-15 minutes?
Yeah,
Boat
ferry ride, yeah.
ferry ride.
Yeah.
Got to the other side, and, "Coach, can I come out yet?" And we pulled up a little further, and he came out. And then all the kids said, "We paid for you." Like, I don't know why you were hiding there. Well, you guys told me I had to, so.
Yeah.
But that was probably, and he loved it. He loved every minute, and, I still see him, and those are the, things that he talks about still is that trip, But that was a funny thing. How about you?
Well, I think you and I have often talked about that story, and but when we were playing down in New York after we had viewed the 9/11 memorial, we were staying at the Marriott Airport right at LaGuardia, which is a real high-end airport. So in we go, all 20 of us, all crapped up, dirty soccer players, and they head straight up to their rooms, and in their rooms were big, beautiful spa towels. Spa bathrobes hanging up.
And a nice Marriott patch on it.
Everything. So Sean and I were sitting downstairs because we had a game the next day, so we were planning our strategies for the thing. We're in the lobby, and all of a sudden we look, and there's about 12 or 14 of our players marching through the lobby of this high-end hotel in their bathrobes with white towels over their shoulders. And they come up to us and they go, Coach, where's the pool? Well, with that, the concierge gentleman from the desk came flying over to us, and he proudly explained to us very forcefully that our players are not allowed to walk into the lobby of this beautiful hotel in their bathrooms, and also that there is no pool. And so tell your players to go back to the room, which they did. So to me, the comedy of that is that we were in a place where they were unaccustomed to being, and they were just doing what kids usually do. And so Sean and I just laughed out loud at the whole thing.
A little addition to that story. About 10 o'clock at night, the kids are getting ready to go to bed. I think we had a 10:30 curfew, whatever it was, and I go to the door, and it's two kids. Coach, are you using your bathrobe? No, you can't have my bathrobe. We already going to talk about this,
Yeah.
And just, and then Coach is like, we're getting ready to leave the next day, and he's like, search their bags, make sure they don't have their bathrobes. You don't want to pay for that.
But that's the part of NHTI soccer that. Are there times where we're not a happy family? Yeah, there are. A goal of a coach is to make a player better, but also make him a better person. And sometimes there's a way that every player responds to criticism. And so as a coach, you need to understand each player and how you can best critique a player on whatever it is you're doing so that that player can improve. And also then provide the player with the opportunity to learn from what they just did and practice to improve what you want them to do. So, do they like you all the time? No. Everybody didn't like me all the time. I can be a cranky guy at some point in time.
Come on, everybody likes you.
But by the same token, are they better off when they're all said and done? We would like to think that they are. So, again, soccer's wonderful. Life skills are important. Player development is great. Person development is even better. And those that you coach with and around, you can learn from all of them as well. I've learned plenty from Sean as well. So it's always been a pretty good relationship. And then the final part of it all is that we all have families. And so our families I coached a total of 29 years. And so my family was accustomed to me being a coach. And not every family is. And so the members of our family that sacrifice as well for us to be the coaches, to go away for all those times, for the incessant phone calls, bailing players out of jail, getting them academic help, having them call with a family issue that they want to chat with you about. Those are the calls that come at midnight and 2 and 3 in the morning. The sleepless nights when you're playing in tournaments or regular games and you're trying to prepare yourself. So our families, in addition to the soccer family, are really critical. And we both have been blessed that we have families that are supportive like that. So that's great. Yeah, so it's good.